in-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
Good morning, I'm Erica Brennis. Thousands of IRS workers are being let go right here, some happening in Austin. That's according to a local congressman. The IRS will fire roughly 7,000 workers around the country. KXAN's Sarah Alshay found out this impact on Texas.
In the middle of tax season, thousands of IRS workers fired. Austin is home to one of the few IRS centers in the country. So were any local employees let go? I took that question to local Congressman Lloyd Doggett. Do you know if any local IRS workers were impacted here in Austin?
Yes, we have about 6,000 IRS employees in the greater Austin area, and hundreds of them are likely to lose their job.
Doggett brought this email with him from an anonymous IRS employee in Austin titled, quote, important update for managers of probationary employees.
Basically what it says is they wanted to fire everyone today, but because of some problems they have within IRS already, they couldn't, but people will hear tomorrow that they're fired and not to come back to work. Everyone's official termination date will be Friday, February 21st.
The layoffs affect probationary employees with roughly 1 year or less at the agency and largely include workers in compliance departments.
We could have delays in refunds. We'll see a reduction in enforcement, so that some people who want to evade their taxes are able to do that.
Kentucky Congressman James Comer say Democrats have used the IRS to target conservatives. These layoffs are part of a wider initiative of the Trump administration to shrink the size of the federal workforce through the Department of Government Efficiency.
We've never seen a more weaponized federal government.
Speaking to conservatives at CPAC, Elon Musk was asked about the IRS cuts specifically.
They're talking about shutting down the IRS.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz even responded to Musk earlier this month on X, calling to abolish the IRS. It's unclear how these IRS cuts may affect tax collection services this year.
I know they're keeping some people on for the returns that people get, the refunds. But whether that can all be handled smoothly with such a reduced workforce is another concern that I have.
Doggett worries about possibly more layoffs in the future.
The people that they've kept on temporarily through tax season, the feeling is that when tax season is over in the spring, they'll be gone too.
Sarah Alshay, KXAN News.
The IRS has roughly 90,000 employees across the country, according to the latest agency data. KXAN reached out to multiple agencies about the layoffs, including the IRS and the National Treasury Employees Union, but we have not heard back. Digging deeper into the firings and layoffs at this moment, there is not an exact tally, but at least more than 200,000 federal employees have been fired. Many are probationary workers who have been on the job less than a year. The White House says about 75,000 federal workers accepted buyouts. The deferred resignation offers compensation through September. The president's administration is working to cut up to 10% of the federal workforce to help reduce the government's deficit. But the Associated Press reports that even if the government reaches that goal, it would still run a deficit of more than $1 trillion. And that's because around $270 billion are spent every year for civilian federal workers.
First warning weather with meteorologist Kristen Curry.
Well, good Friday morning. Let's start with a live look outside in Bastrop. Our Allied Medical Emergency Room camera still showing a little bit of wind. However, our temperatures this morning very close to the feels like temperatures, the wind chill. So we'll stick with our air temperatures showing you on the map. Everybody's in the 20s and 30s, upper 20s in the hill country, upper 20s to low 30s along and east of I-35. Believe it or not, these temperatures significantly warmer than yesterday by more than 10 degrees in some spots. Yesterday, we made it all the way down to 18 in Austin. So we won't be that cold, but it is still cold enough to grab that jacket this morning. 30s all day. No recovery, no sunshine, cloudy, and later this afternoon into this evening, probably starting as a little bit of drizzle before that 10% grows into, I would say, 50% in coverage as we get into Saturday. The problem is it's going to be a mix of rain, liquid rain, and freezing rain. We've got a low potential for some icing overnight into tomorrow. I'm going to show you that. Got some new numbers as far as potential ice accumulations go. The weekend forecast, one day kind of icy and cold, the next Not bad. And it kicks off a beautiful warm stretch getting into next week. So a lot to discuss. I'll see you here in a bit with your full forecast.
All right, thanks so much, Kristen. Tomorrow, families will have new features to enjoy at the Brownie Neighborhood Park. This is that park off of Brownie Drive near I-35 and Runberg Lane. Austin Parks and Rec will be hosting a ribbon cutting tomorrow at 10 a.m. New features include a picnic pavilion, walking trail, and new playground area. Austin ISD will soon get a major makeover for its athletic fields, making the switch from grass to artificial turf. It is a move that has been years in the making. Crews will put new fields in at 11 high schools. It's going to be including better lighting along with a new track and field space. It's a move that will make the fields safer. Michael Mann, Executive Director of Construction Management, says upkeep won't cost as much.
Weren't as safe as they could be. The maintenance, the grounds crews did everything they could. The schools were pitching in, but they are just difficult to maintain long term.
AISD leaders say that this will benefit other activities like the marching band as well. 8 of the 11 fields are expected to receive preliminary permits by the end of the month. Good morning and happy Friday. A live look here in Bastrop. Highway 71 looks good. Still seeing some of those winds out there, but Kristen is going to be up with your forecast in just a minute to talk about the difference 24 hours can make from yesterday morning to today. Feeling not quite as frigid out there. Probably welcome for a lot of you. We are less than a year from the Winter Olympics in Italy, but for a new class of Olympians, they're looking down the road a few years. The International Olympic Committee confirming the first Olympic esports games will be in 2027 in Saudi Arabia. Each nation will have its own team competing. The IOC has not released the games for the 2027 event yet. And for those who stick to the traditional definition of a sport, Alvin Avila, a professional esports player, has a different opinion.
Esports requires a high-level skill and training, just like real sport does. It demands discipline, teamwork, peak performance under pressure. So how can you argue with that?
This is not the first time the Olympics has taken a stab at esports. In 2023, the IOC hosted an esports week in Singapore.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Home opener for the Longhorn baseball team, and it will be at 1 o'clock against Dartmouth, not the scheduled 6:30 because of the weather. They tried on Tuesday night with Houston, couldn't do it, so now they'll try the first of 3 against Dartmouth this afternoon. Jim Schlossnagle making his home debut as head coach, understands not your typical home game in the afternoon and chilly temperatures. He understands what the dish can be all about, though.
The alumni game did a lot of that for me, simply because we had such a great crowd and it was such a pretty day. So I don't want to judge my first real game at Texas on what could be a afternoon start on a cold day. But I'm just excited to get back out on the field and watch these guys play, because we had some good momentum on the weekend, and you feel like, dang it, you run into a speed bump this week with the weather and not playing, and we just need to play. This team needs to play. We got to get these games in.
Yeah, let's hope the weather turns, because UT Beach Volleyball is coming to our family of channels beginning next week. KBVO and Longhorn Network app will televise all 11 home matches. We're excited to bring it to you from Whitaker Sports Complex up around 51st and Guadalupe. Longhorns open today in Houston, but again, 3 different weekends. We'll have all the home matches over on KBVO. Texas softball team, #1 in the nation, back in action today. Men's basketball on their way to South Carolina for an SEC battle with the Gamecocks tomorrow. No weekend game for the Texas women. They play Monday night at Georgia. Back to you.
Yeah, that baseball game might be a little soggy.
A little chilly, a little soggy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think as we get further into the weekend and further into that stretch, the weather will get nicer. But if you plan to be out there, today, tomorrow, get ready.
Yep.
Get ready. Here we go. Here we go. We will start with clouds and radar, because we will anticipate very little, if any, sunshine today. I think the clouds as seen from satellite are already starting to come in, and friends, they're not going to go away today. As far as the temperatures go, as mentioned, it's not quite as cold as yesterday, but we're still below freezing across most of the area. We've got widespread 20s and low 30s here, below freezing here in Austin. The 20s are coldest temperatures out towards the hill country. Not too far from the wind chills this morning. That's a big difference between right now and 24 hours ago. We had a noticeable wind yesterday, and it was shaving off 10 degrees from those temperatures between the wind chills. And this morning, we're much, much closer with the temperatures and the wind chills together. Day planner shows our temperatures not warming very far today. 30s, that's it, y'all. 36, the forecast high. We've got a growing chance of seeing some sprinkles and drizzle early, and then eventually running the risk of some freezing rain later today. Hold that thought. Let's talk about these temperatures, because that 36 here in Austin is likely to be record cold for the day. I'm expecting our high temperatures to get into the record books because we're so cold. That's just, you know, the power of this Arctic air mass, which, by the way, moved in a couple days ago. It's just still here. And the fact that we've got a little coastal low off the coast, in addition to an upper level disturbance, I think that together is going to pull up just a little bit of moisture later on tonight to introduce that freezing rain chance. But I want to emphasize, most of today is dry. Your morning commute should be fine. Your evening commute should be fine. It's not until about 9-10 o'clock do we start to see a little bit in the way of some spots of freezing mist, freezing drizzle. I'm more expecting this to be a bigger deal once we get into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning, as our temperatures are at their coldest, below freezing, we are going to see some spotty to scattered light freezing drizzle before eventually we get into the afternoon and our temperatures warm above freezing to turn that back into just liquid rain. But there is going to be a short window, I would say between about probably 8 p.m. to noontime tomorrow, where our temperatures are cold enough to convert whatever liquid is falling out of those clouds into freezing rain down here at the surface. How much? A few hundredths of an inch. So this should not be a crippling ice storm. However, we could see some light icing on those elevated surfaces, bridges, overpasses, flyovers. We know the drill. Unfortunately, this isn't our first rodeo with ice. And I know that TxDOT has been out again this week treating some of those trouble spots that we typically see. So that's going to happen tonight into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, we will include a 50 to 60% chance still of some scattered light rain. High temperatures not expected to leave those lower 40s, but the fact that we're above freezing is important. Sunday, clearing skies, sunshine in the afternoon, highs in the low 60s. That kicks off a beautiful warming stretch heading into next week. So your 7-day forecast shows those temperatures coldest today in the 30s with that icing risk tonight into tomorrow morning. Be sure to check in with us on KXAN News tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. with Jalen Rich. We'll talk about any impacts we're seeing out there tomorrow morning. But sunshine takes over late Sunday into next week. Highs in the mid to upper 70s. Your overnight lows also getting milder in those 40s and 50s. Hey, let me show you this video. Yesterday morning, police officers near Cleveland were able to rescue a dog that had fallen through the ice. So scary there. The first officer tried to reach Ace with the rope, but realized he was too far. Then both officers were able to get the dog out using a catch pole. The officers took Ace to a vet clinic, and the dog got reunited with his owner. Good news there.
San Marcos, I want to do police, fire, EMS.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you tell me the address of your emergency?
It's San Marcos High School, 2601 Rattler Road.
I'm actually calling because my daughter, I just got home, and she told me that on the bus today, somebody showed her a Snapchat, and it had a threat to Hopewell Middle School about a shooting.
So since the start of the school year, school districts all across Central Texas have seen an uptick in threats toward our schools.
And tell me exactly what happened.
I was walking in the hallway to go to the bathroom, and I heard see a guy walking, and he has a gun in his hand.
An alarming number of cases involving threats of gun violence in or against schools have been filed in our office.
Fake threats have real consequences.
If you make a threat against a school, you will be found, you will be arrested, and you will be held accountable.
And it needs to stop.
Are you still there? Still there?
September 2024, a month-long snapshot at the height of these reports. Police and school records we obtained show at least 56 threats across 17 Central Texas school districts and charters. Data from Hayes, Williamson, and Caldwell counties show students arrested and charged for terroristic threats and making false reports, some as young as 11. In Lockhart, we learned a 12-year-old girl was arrested after telling her mother she thought she saw a gun in her classmate's book bag.
This was a basketball, peewee, another basketball, home run derby.
Rosemary Moreno displays her daughter's awards and trophies with pride. Moreno says her girl has always been a good kid.
Never, ever we've never been through any kind of trouble with her.
That is until this school year. On September 25th, Moreno got a text from her daughter.
I was home and then she texted me, saying that there was an active shooter, and that's when I asked her, do you know the difference between an actual active shooter and somebody that might just have a gun?
Moreno said within minutes she was at Lockhart Junior High School.
We go and I talked to the front office and asked if something was going on, and they were unaware of it. And as soon as she came out, we were out there waiting for her. She just started crying.
Police records Moreno provided show her daughter said she was in her third period class when she went to the restroom and saw the handle of a gun sticking out of another student's backpack. She told police she then went to lunch and texted her mother, but did not tell any teachers or staff about what she saw.
To her, it scared her enough to text me about it.
Police records show the campus was placed on what's called a hold, where staff clears the hallways and students are required to stay in their classrooms while police investigate. But police said when school officials went over footage of the hallway during third period, her daughter was not seen leaving the classroom.
The police officer called us in his office and told us that they reviewed the video and never saw her go into the restroom, so they were going to charge her with false accusations of a threat to the school. I didn't know what to think. I was crying. She was crying. He was like, we're going to have to take her in. And I was like, what do you mean take her in? And she's only 12. She's 12. She's never made anything up like this before in her life.
In a letter to parents, district officials said they found no credible evidence to support the student's claims and said it was seeking charges against the student after finding substantial evidence of falsified claims. Records show Moreno's daughter was charged with a Class A misdemeanor for false alarm and report. She was also suspended from school for 3 weeks, and when she came back from suspension, she had to go to the district's alternative school.
And I told her, I was like, look, if you didn't see something, or maybe a kid told you something, I need you to just be honest with me. Just tell me, because whatever it was, I will back you up and I will be there for you. She's like, I swear to you. She was like, I saw a kid and it looked like a gun. Her story never changed. Not one time has it changed. And to this day, she'll tell you the same story.
We want the community to know that it is extremely important to, when you see something, to say something.
Less than a week after her arrest, in a school safety presentation, Lockhart ISD staff said this about the trend of school threats at their campuses.
A child or an adult would never be in trouble for reporting something, even if it turned out not to be true. There are situations, unfortunately, to where if we get an alert and it's found that it wasn't an accurate report, that things weren't lining up, that's where there may be an issue.
You think she might have been confused?
Yes. The sad thing is you teach them to speak up. If you see something, you say something, and that's what she did. She spoke up. She might not have told somebody right then and there at the school, but she told the person that she trusted the most, and that was me.
The school district, police department, and the district attorney's office all declined to interview with our team. Moreno tells us the district attorney dropped the charges against her daughter last week during our investigation months after the arrest. In a statement, the agency that made the arrest, the Lockhart Police Department, said it takes all reports of guns at school seriously. He added, when a call of this nature is received, valuable police resources are utilized. The district attorney's office, in deciding whether to charge a minor, tells us it considers if the offense was committed, the age and maturity of the child, the seriousness of the threat, and what discipline the school can administer in deciding whether to charge a minor student. He added, the juvenile justice system is not meant nor equipped to be a substitute for parental responsibility. However, where that is lacking, we will not hesitate to take whatever steps we feel are necessary to protect the schools and the community. Kelly Wiley, KXAN Investigates.
We spoke with several Central Texas districts about the threats and warnings they have experienced. See their responses now in this story on the investigative section of KXAN.com. Still ahead, advice that you need to hear before you head out on the road this weekend. Also, if you're listening on the KXAN Today podcast, thanks for joining us. We hope you can join us for that story and more on air. Or you can always find our stories on KXAN.com.